Architects and designers Stephen works with and inspires, and clients he's wowed in a portfolio spanning 25 years were invited to the launch.
This book has been many, many years in the making.
It's taken 5 years. And I met ELSA Young, the photographer, who came to photograph my office. And I saw the wonderful way she worked with light. And I thought it would be a dream if ever I did a book, she would be the photographer of choice. And tonight we'll be standing on the platform together. And I'm very excited about that.
Industry leaders are impressed at how ELSA Young's images capture the relationship between architecture, furniture design, fabrics, and space.
ELSA, as a photographer, must be an absolute pleasure to work with someone like Stephen, because everything's just there perfectly waiting for you to photograph.
Yes, it is. And really, once you walk into the house, it is all perfect. There are very few things that I have to move. There's the most unbelievable attention to detail, and the layering of colors and textures is supreme.
Apparently you'll be performing something special for Steve tonight.
For my sins, I'm singing 2 songs which he loves, and I'm singing The Impossible Dream. This seemed like an impossible dream to start off with. And then I'm singing just before the launch of the book, so I'm giving that to him as my gift.
In the book, Stephen thanks his adoptive mother, Falcke, who fueled his love for design. In turn, he's inspiring a new generation of talents.
Any favorites in there that you really like that stand out for you?
Where he's got all these baskets, and being an African, this is very sentimental to me, because growing up in my culture, we worked a lot with these baskets in our homelands and all of that, making maize meal and all of that, and how he put it together. I mean, he did this some very years back, you know, but it's still relevant, and I really like that about Stephen.
That's a very famous wall that everyone knows that.
Exactly, and for me, it's his signature mark.
What is the Stephen Falcke X factor?
His amazing sense of scale and memory of color, and his incredible ability to read the client and give the client what the client wants. That makes him very special.
Well, my first memory of Stephen was my parents had bought this house, they renovated it, and there were these huge spaces, and I just remember truckloads of furniture arriving at the house, and I remember saying to my father, like, where is he even gonna, like, how does he even know where to put this stuff? And he arrived at the house, and it was like a magic show. He literally looked at the furniture and just pointed in every direction, and all of a sudden it was just like he created this magnificent space. It was amazing to watch. I really enjoyed watching it.
Now, Danny, the question is, when are you employing Stephen to come to your place?
I got to sell a few more records. He's the top of the pops, you know. He's the guy you need. He's the guy you want, if you can afford him. And I'm lucky enough to have had dinner and breakfast and lunch in many of those homes, and hopefully for a long time to come.
And you've worked with him on Win a Home before, and he's a great mentor, right?
The first episode of Win a Home, this man said, keep it simple. And those words have stayed with me, and I guess have influenced how I design my interiors, and that this is a testament for what he does. It's absolutely simple, it's beautiful, well curated, sophisticated, all the things that I think every interior designer, especially a young designer like myself, can aspire to do.
To stand a chance of winning a signed copy of Stephen's book, A World of Design, reply to the competition post on the Top Billing Facebook page. Competition closes on Monday, the 21st of May.
When you look at all those beautiful homes and realize that Stephen was the man behind their creation, you can't help but wonder, what would his own dream home look like? Well, you don't have to guess any longer, because we're about to show you.
This Cape Georgian-style house has features Stephen has admired in local and international homes throughout his career. The 2.5 years spent fitting his vision to the size and shape of the property have paid off handsomely.
Stephen has been on Top Billing more than 50 times over the years, and I don't know about you, but I've always wondered to myself, if he had to build himself a dream house, what would it look like? Well, today we're about to find out.
John was going to get the equivalent of a master's degree in design in one day.
I'm really excited that we finally get to see your dream house.
Great, thank you. You know, I always say the first impression is so important. When you walk into this courtyard before you enter the house, it kind of should take your breath away. That's what I try to achieve.
It definitely took my breath away. It's like walking into a boutique hotel.
The Falcke philosophy is disarmingly simple. The ultimate in luxury is comfort. Rooms have to work and should never overpower the character of the people living in them. Spaces need to be the right stage for the actor, whether you're into classic or alternative design.
I took the design of this from an old plan of a traditional Cape Dutch house and worked on that. And one has this sort of central room as we walked into, which is a lounge, an entrance hall, a patio. It has 2 fireplaces. I've called it the Great Room. And everything in this house is special.
It's so important to have all these little items because it kind of makes a house a home, doesn't it? It transports you back to all those special times and places while you're walking through your house.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and I've mixed a lot of very modern furniture with traditional furniture. And I love that electric combination. Yeah. That is what I find really gives life and character to a room.
Yeah, viewers at home shouldn't be scared to do that. You mix old and new and it can work really, really well.
Absolutely.
The dynamic tension Stephen achieves in a room also comes from mixing something too big with a piece that's too small, or combining shiny finishes with matte surfaces, and balancing opposites by having the room in perfect proportion.
Stephen, I think the word that comes to mind with this house is enchanting. Because the rooms are all so massive and there's just so much happening and so much going on.
Well, Jonathan, the geometry in the house works as such. They're wonderful rooms, and the rooms are 12 meters by 6 meters, or, for example, the dining room is 6 by 6. So it's all geometrically ties up. I have something about symmetry. I like things in pairs. I love things that are symmetrical.
Interiors and architecture should work hand in glove, and this space is the best example.
Now, a library is something you don't see often nowadays, with technology and all of that. It's lovely to see books. It gives such a lovely, warm feel.
The ultimate in a room is to have it book-lined. And that was, again, a dream, to have a library like this. And I think the beauty about this whole house is that it has a tremendous ceiling height. So, you know, books can go right up, and it's got a lovely quality of light. But a library is a very, very special room. Sometimes we can even rig up a dining room table in the middle near the fire. It's a room that has many purposes, but it is a room used every day.
It's amazing what books can bring to a room, that sense of nostalgia, because no one reads anymore. They just look at tablets nowadays.
Absolutely, and I spend a lot of time in this library and a lot of time with my books. That's my passion.
You've got some spectacular art pieces here as well. How do you get that right, like mixing everything together? Because a lot of people, like myself, get it wrong. You mix all these different styles and then you sit back and look at the room and it just looks terrible.
Well, you know, it's a kind of trained eye. Wherever I go, wherever I travel, I'm looking at proportions and relating things and textures, and it kind of is so wonderful choosing something so simple. You don't really have to buy expensive things. The art is making the most of the least.
Absolutely, because I mean, if I saw a massive bird like that in the store, there's no ways I would buy that. I would think, how is that ever going to fit into anything? But you just make it work.
You know, and what I do when something's big, I put it on a table, I make it bigger. I like to make, you know, let things be focal and let them kind of, you know, be sort of dominant in the space.
If his book achieves anything, Stephen wants it to convey how interiors should be like wonderful food, which is so light you don't even feel you've eaten.
This is the kitchen, which is a wonderful room, again, sort of 12 by 6, and it's a room that's a patio. If you look at it, the whole thing opens out. There's a dining courtyard, which is wonderful. It has a braai or a fireplace. It has a wonderful island. Even in the formal dining room, we set food up on this, and it just integrates the sort of dining room, kitchen area. The whole house, in this instance, has one color scheme. I work with color all day, so this is a house that's really just brown and white, and it kind of makes you smile.
And I love the fact that you can stand in the kitchen and literally glance over to the main bedroom, or you can wake up in bed and glance over at the kitchen and literally smell the coffee in the morning.
Yes, when everything's open, it's like being on holiday. And there are shutters that if you do need privacy, you can close off. But it's wonderful just carrying on and walking through.
Everything's just a short walk over the grass. I love
Absolutely.
it.
He says don't underestimate the value of at least one piece of quality furniture in a room. Originals and reproductions can be closely priced, and antiques are sometimes cheaper than modern copies.
Stephen, let me take a guess. This beautiful master bedroom is 12 meters by 6 meters, am I right?
It is, yes. And again, the 3 main rooms. This is like a patio. It opens up, and this opens onto the fountain, onto the rose garden, onto the guest cottage, and it's a big room, and it has a seating area, it has a working area. The owners of this house are 2 wonderful Persian cats.
Do they rule the roost?
They rule the roost. It's their house. And they match the color scheme. This house has very little color, but it has wonderful pattern. It's all about the detail. If you look at this old English sofa, where one usually would have buttons, I have small cotton tufts. And then if you look at the cushions, it's all about the detail. It's the flap, it's the stitching, and it's how it's all put together, mixing cream with white.
I haven't noticed any cupboards.
Well, let me show you this, Jonathan.
Yeah.
These actually are all cupboards. You open the picture and these are all cupboards.
That's so cool. So all the cupboards throughout the house, that's why I haven't seen...
We've got a collection of lithographs, of pencil drawings, everything in black and white. And we really needed cupboard space. So I used this from the old sort of English houses where they used to have portraits and they used to have secret passages.
Now, master bathroom.
Yes, sure.
Is that another 12 by 6 room we're talking about? Or
it is.
Another 72 square meters of space to look forward to? Okay. Stephen, I'm honestly running out of adjectives to describe all these incredible rooms we're seeing. And this is a bathroom that you can literally sleep in.
Well, you could. I mean, there's a daybed, there's a fireplace, there are bookcases, the bath's in the middle of the room. It's all about dreams. And dreams are having a room. In the old English country houses, people made big rooms into bathrooms, and I always remember that.
It's the same throughout the house with all the rooms, because every room is unique in the fact that it's a self-contained space and you can spend hours in each of those spaces.
Well, that's what I intended to do, not just, as we know, a bathroom without windows. This has skylights and doors onto a courtyard. It's very special. I wanted to give the same attention to all the rooms in the house.
Now, Stephen, do I have permission from you to copy this dream house of yours exactly to the T when I design my dream house one day?
Only with pleasure.
Are you sure? Exactly the same, eh?
Only with pleasure.
Okay, we've got this on camera, it's on record one day that I can do exactly the same as what Stephen's done here.
Sure you can improve on it.
I doubt that.
The formal gardens reflect the same principles of proportion, mixing antique with modern, rough with smooth, and limiting the color palette. To Stephen's partner Keith Smith, director of People's Theatre at the Joburg Theatre, the design is like a subtle performance.
Keith, living with one of the world's best interior designers, how much say did you actually have in the making of the house?
Well, you know, while we were building this house, Stephen was traveling extensively. He was in London most of the time, and of course, I was on site. It was a great learning curve for me, and knowing Stephen and knowing his exactness and the proportions and the scale and the balance and the form was so vital that I was constantly giving him feedback on the progress of this house.
And so often, you know, you work under pressure and you work all over the world and you sort of, you know, you're in isolation. But Keith has been this wonderful sort of sounding board that I can discuss things with. And he's given me the most wonderful advice. And, you know, we've been a team, which has been wonderful. And every day I sort of pinch myself and I say, what have I done to deserve this? But I do enjoy it. We both have a very good time here.
Well, cheers to the true definition of a dream house.
Listen, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you all.
For your chance at winning a signed copy of Stephen's book, A World of Design, reply to the competition post on the Top Billing Facebook page.